Hi, and welcome to our first ever Advice for Business podcast. My name's Emma, and here we have our expert business advisor, Gary Maskell, with
Hello.
over 18 years of experience, 140 different companies worked for.
Something like that. Yeah.
So do you want to kind of tell a little bit about yourself, about Advice for Business?
Yeah. Would you want the short version or the long version? Advice for Business in some shape or form has been in existence for coming on 20 years now. I started life in a completely different career. I was a fish merchant. And I guess what I learnt from my 10 years of that was the challenges that business owners face. In fact, became very typical of your average business owner, if you like. I used to work 70, 80, 90 hours a week, not really see my family that often. I used to spend half the month worrying about how I was going to make enough money. The other half of the month worrying about how I was going to collect it so it was in the bank account to make the wages and pay all the bills at the end of the month. And I used to spend the rest of my time stressing about why the staff, of which there were 35, sometimes as many as 40, whether or not they were going to do their job properly, whether they were going to turn up, whether they're going to be sick, whether I was going to have to go and redo what they had to do. And basically just getting pulled from pillar to post, which is a classic challenge that I think business owners face. So when that particular chapter of my life came to an end, which was largely because of some of the reasons I was talking about, there's a massive what I call it. There's a massive consequence or opportunity cost of running a business if you end up working loads and loads of hours, and that's the things that you're not doing because you're running the business. So that is, I don't know, kids' sports days and plays, time with family, hobbies, neglecting your health. Before in the years before I had a family, I'd probably play golf 3 times a week. Suddenly, the business starts to take over. It demands more and more of your time, and I wasn't playing any. I wasn't seeing my kids and my family. And whilst I was fortunate in my case, the money was okay. If you worked out my hourly rate, it definitely wasn't the best. So when that chapter did come to an end, I needed something else to do.
Kind of what drew you to business advice then?
Well, I hadn't really heard of business advice, to be honest with you, Emma. It wasn't something that was on my radar. I think, honestly, if someone had phoned me up when I was sat behind my desk at 5 o'clock in the morning at the fish market, stressing about whether or not the staff were going to turn up, or whether we were going to get through all the work we had to do today, or whether I was going to sell the 2 ton of cod that the fisherman had dumped in my fridge. If someone had phoned me up and said, I can show you how to make this better so you don't work hard and make more money and run your business better, I'm not sure I'd listen to them. I think probably in them days, as a 20-30-something, a young 30-something, I might have been quite rude to them because what the hell would they have known about fish? Nothing. What I didn't realise at that time was that there are 2 elements to running a business. There's 2 skills. There's the thing you do, which you're probably good at, and that's the reason most of us do start our business, because we're good painters and decorators, or know a lot about fish, or we're good web designers, or we're good grocers. Whatever it is we do, we start a business because we're good at the thing we do, and that's the first half of the equation. What you don't realise when you start a business is that there's a whole other set of skills you need. You need to know how to market yourself. You need to know how to sell. You need to know how to manage systems, because it's a weird thing, but doing the thing you do is quite simple. But if, I don't know, let's say I'm a painter and decorator, and I've got to paint the wall yellow for Mrs. Smith. That's quite straightforward. I can nip to B&Q, I can buy a paintbrush and I can buy a paintbrush and a pot of yellow paint. I can drive up to the house. I can find the key under the mat where she's left it for me. I can go in. I can prep the wall. I can paint it yellow. At the end of the day, I can say it's done, and it's cost you £250 or whatever it's cost. and Mrs. Smith can pay me. When I've got 10 decorators, 10 different colours paints, 10 different
Yeah.
brushes, 10 different keys, 10 different... all becomes a lot more complicated. So I hadn't really heard, getting back to answering your question, I hadn't really heard of business advice, and I didn't realise the need, and I don't think I'd have accepted it. But what happened was I ended up having time. I'd stopped that business. I hadn't found anything else to do. So I had this 6-8 month period. Originally the plan was a year, but I never made a year, where I wasn't doing anything. And I was just looking around for what to do with the rest of my life. I was 31 years old.
Young.
I was young. Yeah, I was young. Yeah. At the time I didn't think I was young, but looking back now I was. And
Some of us still are.
and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I had enough money in the bank that I didn't have to go to work straight away. So I had the luxury of time to look around for something else. And I looked at, I don't know, getting a job, which is something I hadn't had for a while. I'd looked at buying and existing businesses. I looked at a lot of cafes, sweet shops, all sorts of different things. And I looked at franchises. And then one day, out of nowhere, this brochure dropped on my map for an opportunity to train as a business advisor. And I honestly don't remember asking for the details. So whether they got hold of me because I put my details in different places because I was looking, or whether I had applied for it, I'm not sure. And the brochure landed on my map, and I had a read of it and thought, well, that won't work. They know nothing about fish. How on earth could they have helped me grow my business? Put it in the bin. But the very next day, they phoned me up. And this chap called Jim phoned me up. I'll never forget it. And he just asked me what I was doing. And I said, well, I'm just looking for different things to do. And he was like, well, we help business owners. And it sounds like you would have been a prime candidate for our help because you were working the hours, because you were stressing about the staff, because you were struggling with cash flow and all these things, because that's exactly what we help business owners get better at. And I kind of recall the conversation as a bit of an argument because he was saying, yeah, we could have helped. And I was going, no, you couldn't. No chance.
Yeah. I guess there must be a lot of kind of scepticism around someone coming in who how are they going to know anything about your business?
Oh,
you know, that type of thing.
I see it all the time. I do think 20 years ago, as it is now, business advice or getting a business coach wasn't quite as mainstream as it is nowadays.
Yeah.
It was very, I think in them days it was like a bit like that. Plus, I was 31 years old and I was running around trying to tell people how to run their businesses. And there's no doubt as my hairlines receded, that
Age and wisdom.
that age and wisdom factor has made a bit of a difference.
People, might look at you and kind of, a little bit more life experience
Yeah.
and have a little bit and know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Although, I mean, arguably I had great experience then. It's just I'd done it very young. Certainly in the network I joined, I was 31. The next oldest person on that network was 40. So I was the youngest by a long, long way. And it was quite the day that changed was quite sad. It was quite a sad day. So yes, I'd had this argument with him on the phone, and he'd said, well, it sounds like you've got some great experience. People could probably learn a lot from you. Why don't you just come and see us? Just come and have a chat. You haven't got to do anything. Just come and have a chat. If you don't believe it, give me a chance to convince you that business advice works. Jim would probably tell you that he was a really good salesman that day because he talked me into going up to this meeting. I'd probably tell you I hadn't really done a lot for 6 months other than play a bit of golf, and any excuse to put on a jacket, go and do a business meeting seemed quite appealing. Truth's probably somewhere in the middle, but I went up to see him, and I stood in a meeting room in Richmond, and he started drawing me some pictures on a flip chart, which I can't draw you now, but and just talking to me about these challenges that business owners face and the terrible consequences that come from things going wrong in a business, like if you're working loads of hours, you're neglecting your health, your family, it breaks up relationships and all this sort of stuff. And just showing me how that there is a difference between being good at the thing you do and being good at running a business, because they're different skill sets.
Right.
And by the end of that day, I'll never forget, I got on the train back from Richmond home and I phoned my wife and I said, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. That is just fantastic. That I just wish I'd met these guys 3 or 4 years ago, because I might still be selling fish, because that was what I needed.
Yeah.
So my take on it was probably different to a lot of people that get into this industry, because a lot of people that get into the industry have been in the city, they've run big businesses, or they've done MBAs, or they've come at it from a different angle, whereas I've come at it from
You can kind of sympathise and relate to kind of where you were in the beginning.
Exactly
to kind
right.
of, so you
I've
understand it. You kind of been through it as yourself, as your own
yeah.
struggling headless chicken, trying to do everything and manage everything and kind of manage the family at home and all that as well. So, yeah, I guess you kind of...
100%. I think, I've laid awake and counted the cracks in the ceiling of the night while I've stressed about how I was going to pay the mortgage, and it's a very lonely place, because you don't want to tell your partner or your significant other, because you don't want to worry them. You don't want to tell the bank manager, because he might take the overdraft away, and you don't want to tell your staff because you think they're all idiots. So it's a very lonely place, running a business. So the idea that there was someone out there that you could not only talk to, but that would understand and get it and know what you're going through, but also be able to bring some answers to the table to this dilemma was really, really appealing. So I didn't think twice, actually. Once I got home, I filled out my application form. I had a lot of learning to do, because I think I've already said I wasn't the real deal. I needed to learn how to run a business properly myself. I'd done it on youthful energy. And so I went away and did all the training and learning, and then I think it was about 6 months later I opened my doors.
And now that's kind of 20 odd years ago.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah,
it's
coming up for 20.
20 years in March. So yeah, it's been a great journey. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I was running a business, I'm working too many hours, no money in the bank, not enough time to get everything done, quoting, doing the jobs, managing staff, invoicing, ordering materials, chasing payments, list goes on and on. I might consider working with an advisor. So how could you reassure me that you're the best man for the job and that Advice for Business is the best company to come and help us?
I mean, there's a load of really good questions in there, so we'll unpick them one at a time. Whether I advise for business or indeed I am the right person, that's one question. How we help is another. Now, it's a very intimate thing, business coaching and business advice, because, like I've said, we're talking about business owners who maybe haven't had anybody to talk to for a long, long time.
So they've got to be able to trust you.
Trust is massive. And I think that empathy, you don't want somebody who's going to be sympathetic and collude with you, because nothing changed. So if someone comes in and says, I know these are the things I need to do to change my business, but I just haven't got the time, why you can sympathise with the fact that they've worked really hard and you get it, you've also got to be a little bit that hard shoulder to cry on and say, that's great and I appreciate it, but if we don't find a way to create the time to make these changes, this is the rest of your life. This is how it's going to be. And do you really want that? So because that relationship is that on that really quite intimate level, the personal connection has got to be good. We've got to get on. So
Got to be the right person.
Yeah. So I actually think rapport and trust and that's step one. That's step one. And the only way you find out if you can work with someone is to spend some time with them. So that's, sitting down. Yes, you can watch me on a podcast, you can watch a vlog, you can come and see me at a seminar, and that gets us some of the way. But the best way to decide whether I'm the right one is to just come and have a chat, come and have a coffee, and just we got to get to know each other. In terms of how we help and can we help, I'm I'm a little bit arrogant in that I think there isn't probably a business out there I couldn't improve in some ways now. I've been doing this 19 and a half, coming on 20 years. So I've seen most things, haven't seen it all, still learning every day, but I've seen most things. So it's about finding the ones that want help. In terms of process and where we start, look, the challenges could be myriad. You could be working too hard. You could not be making enough money. You could be struggling with poorly performing staff members, or maybe you haven't got a team, so you're the chief cook, bottle washer, and you're having to do everything. You could be in any one of these challenges. It could be the marketing that's not working. It could be the sales that's not working. It could be the ops. But you should always start in the same place. And that's with the end in mind. So if we come in and you say, I just need more sales, that's a bit like putting a plaster on a wound, but leaving the glass still in, if you see what I mean. You're never going to stop the bleeding. All you're going to do is solve today's problem. But if we just come in and we drive loads of new sales in and we haven't looked at the impact on, I don't know, operations, can you cope with that amount of work? What's it going to do to your cash flow? And all them sorts of things, then we might be doing you a disservice, because all we might do is create another problem. So I think regardless of the challenges, and yes, we can fix most challenges, the place to start is what you want. What's the end goal look like? Right. And that becomes quite personal. I was talking about the intimacy of a relationship with a client. That becomes quite a personal thing, because what you want your business to look like should be dictated by what you want your life to look like. Yeah. Because there's only one reason to put yourself through the pain of running a business, because it is bloody hard. It's a damn sight harder than having a job. Make no mistake about it. And business growth as a process is really, really hard. It gets a lot harder before it gets better. And because there's so many challenges to overcome to get to the point where a business truly can run without you and make your life better. But step one is to decide, what is it you want your life to look like? Yeah. And I can't tell you, or indeed anybody else, what they want their life to look like.
Yeah, that's individual to them, isn't it?
Of course it is. But the problem is, if you're running a business, what tends to happen is you get up in the morning and it's like, I hop on the treadmill and I start running. Yeah. And what I'm doing is I'm being reactive. So a customer phones with a question, I answer it. I need to paint that wall or whatever it is, I've got to do it. A staff member asks a question. So your whole life becomes reactive and driven by what the business is asking you to do. Yeah. Right. And it can feel very much like the business owns you, not the other way around. You're not driving you. You're not driving it, it's driving you.
Yeah. You might have started it thinking that you're going to enjoy it. I'm my own boss. I'm going to take every Wednesday off and play golf and do all these nice things. And the business is going to, and I'm going to, my lifestyle, that flexibility and stuff. But often a lot of the time you're saying then that these business owners don't get that. It's they're on this hamster wheel running and not able to.
Absolutely. I think what happens is we all start with a dream. So whether we've sat around the kitchen table with our family or we've just had an idea, so we all start with a dream that running our own business is going to mean X, Y, or Z for our lives. It could be more time with the kids. It could be hobbies. It could be, I've had all sorts. It could be big cars. It could be big houses. It could be holidays, villas abroad, setting up charities, whatever it is that you want from your life. We all start with that dream, but then we start running our business and the reality kicks in. Yeah. And before we know it, we're working hours, because what happens is, typically, is when we say we own a business, we run our business between 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, maybe 6 till 9 or 7 till 9 in the morning. Then we go to work and we do the job, the thing that we're selling, the painting, the decorating, the web design, the computer repair, the plumbing, the whatever it is we do, the business advising, whatever it is we do, and we do that all day. And then at 5 o'clock, when everybody normal and employed stops work, we go back to our offices or our homes, and we run our business again for 2 or 3 hours, doing the quoting, sending the invoices, chasing the money, ordering the materials. Yeah. So something that's supposed to give us more freedom and more flexibility, it just starts putting more and more and more demands on us and our time. And what we do is we forget them dreams. We forget about the holidays it meant we were going to have. We forget about the fact that it was going to mean we could go and watch the kids at the school play, or that we could go away for a golf weekend with the lads, or go and watch, I don't know, I'm a Brighton fan, watch Brighton in Europe, or whatever it is, that whatever those dreams were, they just get forgotten, and it just becomes about running as fast as you can every day and hoping at the end of the month you can pay the mortgage and the bills. And the tragedy of it is that the people that we end up neglecting, our families and ourselves, they're the people we're supposed to be doing it for.
Yeah.
And so we lose sight of that dream. So whenever I start on a process with a new client, obviously if there's a really, really urgent problem that needs fixing, because there's no money in the bank, and if we don't get some by the end of the month, it's all over, then obviously we do that first. But normally I like to start with what I call purpose, and it's putting it right back to what are we trying to create here? What do you want your life to look like? Let's revisit those dreams and them desires, and what it was that this business was supposed to create. And it's not just what it's going to create in 10 years' time, it's what's it going to create in a year or in 3 years, 5 years. Because you got to enjoy the journey. There's no point in having a destination. Oh, in 10 years' time, my life's going to be perfect, but for the next 9 years, it's going to be hell. That won't work. You won't make it. So it's got to be a gradual process. So once we understand what you want your life to look like, then we can decide what the business needs to look like at each of them points, 1, 3, 5, 10 years, in order to give you everything you want from your life. And that's so once we've done that bit, then we can start drilling down into the specifics, and the specific things we're going to need to do for a business will depend very much on where that business is at, because every business is different. It's a reflection of the owner, and where you are and where you want to get to will determine what we need to do. You know, some businesses have great systems but don't know how to sell. Some businesses can generate leads from fun, but coping with the work and the workload is absolute chaos. Some businesses can grow, but growing means sucks cash flow. So there's loads of things, but it's putting them basics foundations in at the beginning that enables us to decide what else needs to be done. So I don't know, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Yeah. So kind of, are you noticing what are the current trends and challenges that you're seeing the most in businesses at the moment, and how can business owners manage them effectively?
See, the thing about running a business is there are always challenges. Okay, taxes are going up all the time. New competition enters the market. Technology has moved on so much just in the 19, 20 years I've been doing this. I mean,
Well, we
look at me
wouldn't
now.
be sat here.
Yeah, I'm sitting here doing a podcast. When I first started, I used to run seminars and workshops, and we used to take fax bookings. I mean, who'd have thought that? Like, don't even own a fax machine now. I think there's one in the loft. But so things change. So challenges are always coming. If you don't like challenges, don't be a business owner. It's that straightforward. The core challenges that I've seen and that have been consistent over the last 20 years probably fall under 3 headings for the business owner, and I've kind of already alluded to them. It's time, it's team, it's money. Yeah, and most business owners don't have enough time, they don't have enough money, and they don't have a big enough team to support them, and it kind of gets unbalanced. And I kind of liken it to, it's kind of like a milking stool. If all them three legs are a different length, the chair wobbles a lot. And business success comes from creating an environment where you can work sensible hours productively, doing the things that are going to make a big difference to your business, make a fair return and reward, and have a team that I don't know, is rowing in the same direction as you. You want good people in your business that care as much about that business success as you do, and don't just treat it as a job. So the challenges are probably fall into them three main areas. And the other stuff, the noise around it, the new technology, taxes, changes, stuff like that, have an impact on them three things. I don't know, does that answer your question?
Yeah. So, kind of what strategies would you suggest a business implement to increase their market share or attract new customers?
So that's it's such a minefield. If you go and talk to the web designer, he'll tell you that a new website is all you need to grow your business. The printer will tell you it's leaflets and posters. The social media marketer will tell you it's social media. The guy selling advertising space will tell you that advertising space will transform your business. And the sign writer will tell you it's just about having good signs. And it gets really, really confusing and hard to decide what bits are right for you. The truth is, probably in our toolkit at A4B, we've got 50, maybe 55 different lead generation strategies. They don't all work for every business. It's about identifying the ones that work for most businesses. What I will say is some of the common mistakes that we all make, myself included, as business owners, is we decide what's important to our customers rather than letting them tell us what's important to them. So to give you an example, we go and build a new website, and we think, I want it to say that we offer great service, which is a bollocks word, excuse my French, because we can all say good service. It's what is it about that service that's important? So we can all, what we don't do is go and ask our customers, because what we should do is market research, and business owners don't do it.
They probably haven't got the time.
They probably haven't got the time, and they don't know how.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I talk a lot about A-class clients because I only want to work for my best clients, the ones that pay a fair value, don't ask me loads and loads of questions every 5 minutes and demand loads of my time, let me get on with my job and trust me to do it professionally, pay their bill on time, and then refer me to their mates. I don't want the customers that, I don't know, haggle like crazy about price, moan about it, phone you every 5 minutes while you're doing the job, criticise your work, then don't pay their bill for 3 months and tell everybody you were rubbish. I don't want them customers. I want my competition to have them. So what a first thing I have to do with any marketing, whatever the specific strategies you are, I always say, do the research. Nobody does the research. We create a website that we like the look of. I don't care whether you like your website or not. In fact, I really don't care. What I care is that it speaks to your A-class customers and attracts them. So step one is do the market research and understand your market. So rather writing some words on a leaflet you think are important, find out what's important to your customers and talk about that. So that's the first part of it, and then it's finding the right mix. And I think nowadays you need a good mix of what I would call traditional marketing, sign writing, letters, leaflets, and digital. But also I think nothing sells like shoe leather, and they say in life it's not what you know, it's who you know. So it's getting out there and talking to the right people with the right connections that will grow a business the fastest.
So kind of networking, sort of attending loads of networking, meetings, things like that.
There are loads of businesses out there in every industry that don't directly compete with you but share a target market. And you should be talking to more and more of them businesses and working out what you can do together.
Yeah, forming some kind of an alliance, and I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine, and pass each other work.
Look, it's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. There's two things: it's who you know, and reputation. Reputation is all.
Yeah.
And they're the two things to focus on. I think is meeting the right people. If you want to eat big fish, swim in a pond full of big fish. If you only want to eat little ones, swim in a pond with minnows. But if you're not fishing in the right pond, you're never going to get what you want.
Okay. So, a different kind of challenge, I suppose, for business owners. So, if they were, how could a business optimize their business processes in order to improve efficiency and reduce costs?
Ah, that's a big question. Business process is a is is a massive topic, and it's an area of the business that I think a lot of business owners neglect. That most of us think the solution to our problems is to sell more, and the truth is. If I go and double a business's sales, which I'm quite good at and I can do, but I haven't looked at these processes and systems first, we can cause chaos. But there is a huge amount of money and benefit to be made from improved systems. And that flows through everything. I almost liken it to a pipe. If you've got a pipe and the water's running through it, the water will only run as fast as the pipe's narrowest point. Yeah. So when you start doing business process mapping, step one is to just map the process up on a flip chart or anything. What happens when we get an inquiry? What happens next? What happens when the job's been confirmed? What are the steps we have to go through? And just get them all up in a list, and then identify the bits where you have the most problems, where things go wrong the most, and try and widen that pipe. There's no one answer because every business is different. There are literally thousands of different bits of apps and software and stuff out there nowadays, which again didn't exist 20 years ago, that can make this process better. But the dream has to be what I call the business in the box concept. So when you franchise a business, what you're buying if you buy a franchise is this business in the box. So you're kind of buying this manual, and you can open it up and go, I don't know, how do I fit shelves? And there'll be a page that tells you how to fit shelves. It might be, how do I generate leads from social media? And there'll be an instruction manual. That's the ultimate business in a box. Now, in an ideal world, utopia would be for every business to have that degree of systemization and that folder, if you like, that documents how to do every area of the business. That's a massive job. Doesn't happen overnight, but that's a system. Now, within that system, there could be bits of software. It's about identifying the right bits. So it's a journey, but it's a really worthwhile journey. And how do I express it? Let's say the capacity of our business is 100 units a month, and that generates £100,000. But because we're inefficient, i.e., I don't know, maybe the way we order our materials isn't quite right. We're buying them just in time. We're going into the nearest merchants or suppliers when we need something now, rather than ordering in front and negotiating the best prices. What happens is our materials become more expensive than they should be, and because we're inefficient in the way we get them into the business, we end up overrunning by 10% on every project.
Right.
If we overrun by 10% on every project, that's costing us £10,000.
Wow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, if you go the other way with your systems and you become 10% more efficient, suddenly you've made an extra £10,000 because your capacity has increased, so you can get through more work in the month. And businesses, I do think it's the area that's most neglected because we're too busy chasing the next sale and the next dollar or getting the money, and we forget that bit. But there's so much money to be made there. I had a customer message me just a few days ago, actually, and we've been working very, very, very hard on the systemization of his business. And he's been saying to me all month, I'm a bit worried. It feels really, really quiet. It feels really quiet. I'm not sure we're going to hit target this month. I'm not sure we're even going to hit break even, which is something else we could talk about when we talk about finance. But and I'm really, really worried. So I've had a whole meeting with him talking about marketing, funnily enough, and what could we do to get a bit more work coming in. We've got to the end of the month and he's messaged me going, I don't believe it. We've had our best month ever. Yet it's felt really, really quiet. I was like, that's good systems.
Right.
That's good systems.
Brilliant. So if we had a company that was struggling with staff, so you've got, how do you build a strong team and a good company culture to support the growing of the business?
Again, a message that people in every business is the hardest part, but the most rewarding part. Because many, many years ago, Jim Collins wrote a book called Good to Great. If you haven't read it, you should. It's just brilliant. And what he did was he looked at I think it was the S&P 500. I think it was, I'm not sure. And he looked at the top 10 companies in the S&P 500 in America. And what he wanted to do was identify what them top 10 businesses had in common that the other 90 or so businesses on the S&P 100 didn't. And so he spent months studying these companies and going in and looking at, is it their systems? Is it the way they market? Is it, I don't know, is it the product? What is it that makes these companies so successful? And it all boiled down to one thing. They all got the right people in place first. It was all about the people. So they recruited the good people and they built a team around them. The problem is that finding good people isn't that easy. Good people want to work for good companies. Yeah. They don't want to work for average companies, and they definitely don't want to work for below average companies. So if you want good people, you've got to do the things that good companies do. Even if you don't think you can afford it, and even if you don't think you've got the time to do it.
Like what?
So, pay's one small part of it, but not as big a part as you think. If someone's unhappy in work, giving them an extra £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 a year, it's a bit like a sticking plaster. They'll be happy or so for a month, but fundamentally they're happy with their job or where they're working, they'll be unhappy again. So there's probably 7 elements that you need to build a successful team. First of all, you need a really good, strong, robust recruitment system. Yeah. And you need to be uncompromising in your recruitment. And what I mean by that is what we do is maybe we put an ad up on a job site or maybe we use a recruitment agent or however it is we find a people or someone gets recommended and we might interview 2 or 3 people and we'll pick one. Even if we don't think they're all absolutely perfect. We just pick one. And if only one person turns up to the interview, if we like them, we'll probably recruit them. Yeah. And we just get them to start. And then what we realise is every employee has a honeymoon. They have like this month where everything's perfect.
Everyone loves their job when they start. Realisation dawns.
And then the reality kicks in. And then and we realise that we've made a bad recruitment. So I always say be really, really specific about the sort of person you want and also what is the ethos and culture of your company. How do you want people to do things and behave towards each other? What's our internal behaviours going to be like? And will this person fit? Yeah. And if they won't, wait. Because the cost of recruiting someone bad and hanging on too long to them is far greater than struggling on without them. Yeah. Right. So a really, really robust hiring or recruitment system. And then for the reasons already alluded to, you need a really good firing system as well. Now, the golden rule is hire slow, fire fast. If someone's not working, move them on. Because we're human beings as business owners, and we have compassion, and we often know our employees' circumstances. I mean, I've had a client say to me for a good few months now, I know the performance isn't great, but the damage I'm going to do to this person's life if I get rid of them is just, I can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I promise you now, the day that person finds a better job, they're gone. Yeah. Yeah. It's difficult. We become human. But the other side of it is, because we're the owner, our staff are never going to be our best friends. We're going to like them. There's going to be mutual respect there, but they're not going to be our mates. They're at work because they believe that working for you will help them achieve their personal goals. Yeah, and the minute they don't believe working with you can help them achieve their personal goals, they will go. So we need a decent removal system to get rid of the people that aren't performing. And the lawyers will tell you that that's all about making sure that you don't get sued. And that's important, but more important is the people that are left behind. So as an example, let's say you were working for me and I'd said to you, from now on, Emma, without fail, before you leave work every day, you've got to empty the bins. Okay, simple job. And then I get to work the following morning and the bin's still full. Yeah?
Yeah.
And I think, oh, that's so annoying. I've asked you to do it, so I ask you again. Emma, at end of work, please empty the bin. Yeah? And you don't do it again. Yeah? Now, I've got two approaches here. I could think, oh, she hasn't emptied the bin. I could empty it myself and I could say nothing. Yeah? And that's great. But in 6 months' time, where I've had to empty the bin every day, I am going to be absolutely raging. Yeah? And one day, I'm going to lose my tether and I'm going to go, Emma, for God's sake, this has been your job for 6 months. You've never done it. You're sacked. Yeah?
Yep.
The staff are going to think, bloody hell, he's in a mood today. That could be me next. That's come from nowhere. Like, we thought everything was all right. Because I've been bottling this up and not giving you the feedback
Yep.
and exploding. Whereas if I'd gone the other way and I'd sat you down and I said, Emma, this is a warning. You haven't emptied the bin. And then you come and do it again. I go, Emma, look, it's
We've
getting
already
serious
spoken
now.
about- yeah.
Yeah. When I do finally remove you, the other staff are going to think, what a silly girl. She had so many chances.
Yep.
Yeah. One will massively disrupt your culture. One will keep. So a good removal system is about the ones that are left behind and making sure that they're still with you. So you need that removal system. I've already alluded to it. You need a vision for the business. If you can't communicate to your staff where the business is going, how can you expect them to help you get there? And two, how can they ever believe that their own personal goals are achievable while they're working for you? Yeah, they're not. So sooner or later, they're going to think, I'm doing this and this is the rest of my life. I want more than this. And they're going to leave you. So even when you've got someone good, you might lose them because they can't see that vision. Whereas if you're saying, well, in 5 years' time, we're going to double the size of the company and that's going to open this role and this opportunity and it's exciting. If they feel like they're part of a journey like that, of course they're going to stay because they can get everything they want from it. So you need to be able to communicate that vision. Then you need some performance management systems. So starting at the top, you probably need to run team meetings. Now, lots of business owners have played with the concept of team meetings, and I've heard things like, yeah, we used to do one once a week on a Monday, but it was an hour we couldn't bill, so we got fed up with it. Yeah. Now, my argument is, let's say we've got 10 staff. Yeah. If we can't invest an hour a week in them, then we don't deserve to keep good people. We don't deserve it. Yeah. So team meetings and the key thing about a team meeting is, it's a whole nother podcast as a subject probably, is a team meeting is the clues in the word team. It's their meeting. It's not your meeting. Yeah. If the meeting is just you standing out there and lecturing them all about what they got to do, then they're not going to like it and you're going to find it unproductive. But if the meeting is about them. It's their meeting. So it's, here are the goals. Here's what we've got to go and achieve, guys. How are we going to go and do it? And they feel they've got an input and they feel like they've got a say and they've got a voice. They're going to be incredibly effective. So that's the top level one, team meetings, performance appraisals. Now, because of the space that I operate in mostly with the smaller end of the businesses, people with 5, 10, 15, 20 staff, not hundreds, I often get that's something big companies do. Why have I got to do a performance appraisals? I haven't got time for that. And it's kind of the same argument as I've just had with the team meetings. If I've got 5 people I employ, each one of them is a fifth of my business. And I want them to perform at 110%, because if they don't, my business doesn't succeed. Yet I'm not prepared to sit down with them for 1 or 2 hours once every 6 or 7 weeks to find out how they are, find out what help and support they need, and to give them some pointers on how they could improve. I don't deserve good people if I'm not prepared to do that.
No.
And I get why it doesn't happen, because of all that stuff we were talking about earlier in the podcast, the getting on the treadmill and running like crazy
and reactive.
reactive. And it's really easy to think, oh, Emma, do you mind if we do your appraisal next week because Mr. Jones wants his pipe fitted today? It's easy to do that. But what you're saying is, Emma, you're not as important as that pipe.
Yeah.
And that's a terrible message.
Yeah.
That
makes sense.
So proper performance appraisals. And you've got to lead from the front. You've got to be that inspirational leader. You've got to be prepared to put yourself out there. And I always say, if you're not prepared to give people a piece of yourself, why are they going to give you a piece of themselves?
So kind of bonuses linked to tie in with targets, things like that?
I'm a firm believer that if the business wins, everybody wins. Now, I'm not saying if the business isn't doing well, the boss shouldn't have a Ferrari. What I'm saying is maybe everyone should have a Ferrari. It's just that the boss's is brand new and the staff's might be 5 or 10 years old, if you see what I mean. But
I want to go much there.
yeah.
Okay. Sort of, what would be the key KPIs that you'd kind of encourage any companies to be kind of, what should they be tracking? What should they be looking at?
Another big topic. So KPIs are really important. I think step one is measure what you can control. If you can't change something, don't waste your time measuring it. And also I think any business should be able to get all the information it needs to know whether their business is running properly on one piece of paper. If it gets bigger than that, it's probably something you're not going to have time to look at, and it's probably going to have too much information. If there's a certain statistical number you don't like on that bit of paper, you can drill into the detail and you can find out what's going on. But start with the headlines. And what you've got to do is make sure your KPIs stretch across the 5 functional areas of the business. So you're going to need some marketing KPIs. Now, for me, if you're going to spend £100, £1,000, £200, whatever you're going to spend on a marketing strategy, if you're not measuring whether it's working properly or not, then you're wasting your money.
Yeah, how do you know?
There is that old saying, isn't it? Half of my marketing spend is wasted if I only knew what half. Well, you should know what half. Yeah. So if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to want to know how many leads has it generated, how many sales has it generated, what was the value of them sales. I'm going to want to know them KPIs. If not, I'm not going to do the marketing. So your marketing KPIs, you need to know specifically how much money all of your lead generation strategies are making you. Now, a marketing agency or the person selling you that will talk to you about awareness. It might not generate your leads, but it's good awareness. Yeah, I call bullshit. Basically, I call bullshit on that. Yeah. If it's yes, I do think you need 4 or 5 touches. So I might see your advert, meet you at a networking event, watch a vlog or a blog you've put up, happen to drive past one of your vans before I engage with you. I might need them 4 or 5 touches, but if you've been doing something for a year and it hasn't generated you any interest whatsoever that you can measure, it's probably not generating you awareness either. So that's marketing. Sales is really easy. It's conversion rates. If you've got staff members out there, there'll be someone out there that's selling 2 things for every 10 quotes they do. There'll be someone else out there selling 7 for every 10. Yeah. So we want to know what a conversion rate is. How many leads do I have to generate to make a sale? It's a key KPI around sales, probably the headline one. Operations is a bit trickier. There are loads you could measure. Billable hours, for example. If I'm buying 8 hours off my staff members, how many do I actually get to bill? You never get to bill 8. It feels a bit unfair because if I went into Sainsbury's and bought a bottle of Coke and it was half empty, I'd take it back. But if I buy 8 hours of your time, sometimes I can only bill 5 or 6 because I have to talk to customers at lunch breaks and do other stuff. So that's a good one. Rework isn't a bad one to measure. How many times do we get called back to jobs? There's loads. So it's about identifying the ones that are specific to your business.
Right.
You're going to want KPIs in HR as well. So HR could be lateness, could be sickness. They're the typical punitive HR. But I'd rather measure things like how many of the staff have completed their working training plans that we wrote at their appraisals. How many of the staff have attended their appraisals and all the team meetings? Are they buying into this ethos and this culture that we're trying to create? I'd rather measure that stuff. And then obviously there's a really important one, which is finance. Now, every business has a break-even amount. So that is the amount of money that they have to sell or take in revenue every month in order to pay all the bills and themselves. Yeah. Now, every business should know what their break-even is. And there are a lot of things we think of first as business owners. It could be, as Jim done his job yesterday, it could be, I've got to get the materials order. The first thing you should be thinking about is how far am I from target and what I'm going to do to get there. Yeah. So break-even's first financial target, but break-even's great, but if all you're going to do is break even and survive, what's the point?
Yeah.
So then set yourself some other target. So if I know that to achieve my personal goals, I need to make 10 grand profit a month, how much have I got to sell every month to make that 10 grand?
To make it happen.
And I should know that number. And tragically, most businesses don't know them numbers.
So working with someone like you, they'd have...
100% we work them out.
Work them out straight away and know exactly what you need to be selling each week, each month, whatever, in order to kind of create... to fulfill the dream, not create the dream, to actually have the dream.
And do you know what? The spooky thing is, sometimes just setting a target is enough. If I know I've got to do something, generally I find a way.
Yeah.
Whereas if I haven't got a target, then it's... and also...
Back of the mind stuff.
Yeah. So that's... So finance, I just think targets and have we hit them. And there are 3 finance targets. Once you know what them numbers are, if let's say my profit target is 10,000 a month, just picking a number at the end, I've got to sell 10,000, I've got to invoice 10,000, and I've got to collect 10,000. So I've got 3 targets. I've got a sales target, invoice target, and a collections target. Yeah, and I need to hit all 3. Now, in any given month, the people I sell to, the people I invoice, and the people I collect money from are probably 3 different groups of people because of credit and how long it takes to do jobs and stuff like that. But I need to hit all 3 targets. Does that make sense?
Yep. So I kind of feel like we've kind of getting to the end. There's probably hundreds and thousands more questions I could ask you. We could kind of go into even more detail or pick a specific subject, just HR, and do a whole podcast on that. Or like you say, the team meetings, different things.
And maybe we will.
But kind of so, if any of this has kind of resonated with anybody out there, or somebody knows somebody who's kind of struggling, or has a friend or someone who's, really stressed and whatever, running their own business, how do they get in touch with you? It's kind of your time to...
I do think if you Google Gary Maskell or Advice for Business, you'll find me. There's the website, www.adviceforbusiness.com. There's a Facebook page. There's an Instagram page. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. you will find us, and we will respond by whatever medium you choose to get in touch with us. However, if you're serious about growing your business, probably the first step is the business MOT. We've got this brilliant tool on our website. It's a 15-minute questionnaire, which you can log on to the website, adviceforbusiness.com /MOT. It'll take you about 15 minutes, and it's going to ask you a load of questions in all 5 of them key areas that I've talked about: the marketing, the sales, the ops. And it's almost your tool. It's going to ask you the right questions to help you self-assess where your business is right now. And on top of that, I will phone you personally and just talk to you on the phone about them particular challenges. And we can even send you a report if you want one. And if at that stage, having done that bit of work, and we've had that chat, we feel like we can work together, then, as I said right at the beginning of this podcast, just come in and have a coffee and talk to me. Just come in and have a chat. Yeah. Or we can do a Zoom or a Teams call, or however you want to do it. But just get to know us, and then we can start the journey of taking your business from where it is to giving you all them things you want from your life.
Amazing. There you go. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks, Emma.
You're welcome.
And maybe I'll see you next month.